Chavra, come on over, sit down by the table. Reframing, it's not a l'chaim, l'bracha. L'chaim, everybody should give you a bench. It was a really blessed year. Baruch atah Adonai b'cholam. Shahakom li'o b'dvarei. L'chaim, l'bracha, everyone. Tonight is what we call Slichos night. Tonight is Slichos night. A time of tremendous compassion. The time of tremendous compassion from above. There is an incredible flow of the gates of heaven are open in a level beyond anything that we can even begin to fathom. We sit together, we appear a little bit just with the intention of opening our hearts and putting ourselves in the frame of mind to be able to stand in front of Hashem and to engage on the highest level. We bring for ourselves and our families total forgiveness and reconciliation, if you call it, with the Eibishter, so that we can stand heart to heart, face to face, eye to eye, on the deepest level. So, l'chaim l'bracha, may our little efforts below reap and produce what it needs to produce, way more, not just a little bit, but way more on levels beyond what we even intended to. So l'chaim l'bracha, l'chaim l'bracha. Oy rachamon yonne yonne oh rachamon yonne This niggin used to be, it's a Hasidic niggin, but this niggin used to be sung very slow. Oy rachamon odeyotnei b'svi yerei libo. Oh, yanei because the nekuda is, but then afterwards, over the years, it picked up pace. And today, if you go to Chassidus Slichos, there is a lot of dancing going on before Slichos. 770, there's dancing, and then from the dancing, you go into Slichos. And the nekuda over here is, that I'm thinking to myself, the Baal Shem Tov, changed the nature of Yiddishkeit. He uncovered, he revealed a deeper depth in Judaism, and therefore tshuva changed, the connection to the Eibishter in general changed, our entire outlook changed, and as a result of that, you go to Slichos, but instead of feeling like really down and like garbage and like full of, disgusted with yourself, the Baal Shem Tov opened up to feel the closeness to the Eibishter and to feel the love, to feel the compassion. But here in this niggin, there's it's an interesting contradiction. Because on the one hand, what are you saying? He's saying Rachamana, which means the merciful one. The Aneh, the one who answered. Lanieh, the one who answers poor people. Aneinu, answer us. Rachamana, the merciful one. The Aneh, L'svide liba, those of broken heart. Aneinu, answer us. Why should Hashem answer us if Hashem answers to the broken heart? Because we have a broken heart. But if you have a broken heart, so to sit quietly and cry. What is the idea that you're singing? So the Baal Shem Tov taught us how to sing with a broken heart. And the Baal Shem Tov taught us how to have a happy song, have besimcha while we have a broken heart. That we can have a broken heart and at the same time have simcha with a broken heart. But in the early years of Chassidus, as Chassidus was only beginning to bring its new perspective into the world and to challenge the old perspective, the idea, the refreshing concept of the Baal Shem Tov regarding tshuva, as we'll soon speak, the higher, this whole new light, this whole new energy, this whole freilich energy that the Baal Shem Tov was bringing, it took a while till it was able to fully kick in. So even when we sang a niggin, instead of just being bitter by Slichos, we came to Slichos with a niggin of Rachamo, but it was a very slow niggin. It was, you felt mainly Tvudei Liba. You felt mainly on Amiyeh, the poor, the destitute, the broken heart. But as the years progress, and Chassidus, which is the light of Mashiach, is sweeping through the world and permeating us deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper. Not like people think that the lights of Chassidus is one of the things that are here like everything else in the world, which becomes like it belongs to the ancient world when there were great Chassidim and great Rebbe's. But now it's nicht, it's verkehrt. Since Chassidus is the light of the future, every day that we go further in time, the deeper we're coming to it, the more ability we have for this energy and for this light to permeate us. So now the niggin, the rachamana, the aneh, l'svide liba, I'm just thinking this just now, it occurred to me, is actually moved. The pace became a really freilich niggin. Because you can have the broken heart with the joy, and the joy dominates in the broken heart. How does that, how do we achieve that? So the Baal Shem Tov once came, there's a story told, it's a minhag Matzah Shabbos, to tell the story of the holy Baal Shem Tov. The Baal Shem Tov once came to a place for Slichos. And the chazan that was leading the Slichos was singing very freiliche tunes. This chazan was a little bit before his times. This was before the Kumsitz, the Kumsitz guitar Slichos. This is still in the ancient world where Slichos was very heavy. When this chazan was a very freiliche chazan, and the Slichos was full with happy tunes. And it was even a shock to the Baal Shem Tov. Imagine that. The Baal Shem Tov was like taken aback. He wasn't used to that. He was used to a very heavy, painful Slichos. And this was a very uplifting, happy Slichos. So the Baal Shem Tov went over to the chazan and he said, it's Slichos. It's Slichos. What's this? What's this fast tempo? What's this whole? I never heard something like this. So this chazan says to the Baal Shem Tov, he says, if I was hired by the king, to clean the prince, the king has a little boy prince, and the prince gets himself ashmirt. The prince falls into the mud. The prince gets all sticky. He gets all gooky, and sometimes he has a dirty pamper. And the king has taken a simple guy like me, and he gave me the merit that I should become the one who cleans the prince. No, for such a schus that I can be in the palace and I can be taking what is the most cherished by the king. And that is his prince. This is the crown prince. This is one day going to be the king. This is the crown prince. This is everything to the king. The fact that he has a smelly over there and I have to sit and clean it. It's uncomfortable. No one likes cleaning a dirty pamper. But the joy that if you realize this is the prince that I'm cleaning, this is the prince that I'm cleaning. So he said, Slichos, who are we cleaning by Slichos? We're cleaning the prince. We're cleaning the one and only child of the Eibishter. So how can we be heavy and with a heavy heart? It's freila. So we don't have to always think about that about someone else. That's true about someone else, but it's true about ourselves also. Slichos, we're sitting and we're cleaning ourselves. And who are we? We're the prince. And we're doing a service for the Eibishter. The Eibishter doesn't want to have smelly children. The Eibishter wants to have beautiful children that are sparkling and they're shining the way they should be. So the Eibishter gives us a couple of days to clean up a little bit. And this cleaning needs to be done. So on the one hand, it's you have both together. But since you're cleaning house, you have to face certain realities. And not necessarily always the prettier side of self. Sometimes you take a look at yourself and you find there's a lot of inyanim over there that don't smell too good. And you have to, in order to clean, you have to be aware of it. And that gives you a broken heart. But at the same time, when you recognize, who are you cleaning? You're cleaning your beautiful neshama. A neshama that's a piece of God from above. That's what you're cleaning. You're cleaning the most precious diamond in the world, your own neshama. When you clean that diamond, you sing. And you dance for the schus that the Eibishter gave you. The Eibishter gave our finite shell of an existence, which is our human side, our body, our human side. And the Eibishter entrusted in it this beautiful diamond, the prince. And the Eibishter is telling you as a human being, go clean the diamond. So you're like this person hired. The mashal really is a good mashal. It wasn't said by the Baal Shem Tov, it was said by this Yid to the Baal Shem Tov. But yet it's really good mashal. Because you're like a person as a human being hired by the Eibishter to clean the neshama, to clean the prince. And that's a freiliche rachmana. Rachmana, the ane, the svire liba, and a freiliche tune. And that's the way we approach Slichos, with a whole new energy, with understanding. It's Avinu of Rachman. The Eibishter is very, very, very excited tonight. The Eibishter isn't angry tonight. Wow. The Eibishter is very, very, very excited tonight. The Eibishter is so happy to see us all. The Eibishter is smiling from ear to ear just because we're here. Even if we have full of ketchup and mustard smeared over our entire face and everywhere, and a lot of other stuff, the Eibishter is so happy that we're up now. Instead of laying on the couch and watching YouTube or instead of other things we might be doing on a regular Motzei Shabbos after we've had our fill of pizza, instead it's 11 o'clock, it's 11:45 at night, and we're coming to clean ourselves in front of the Eibishter. We're coming to purify ourselves. Lifnei mi atem mitaharin. In front of who are you making yourself Torah? Avichem shabashamayim, your Father in heaven. So tonight is the happiest night in the year, probably. Yidden are coming home to get clean. The process is starting. It's a really happy time. So with this Simcha Diganot, we say, Hashivenu Hashem Elach. Take us home, Eibishter. Take us back to you. Take us close. Bring us close. I don't know if you know the Nigan, but there's a very beautiful Nigan on the words of Shabbat Shuva. Shuva Yisrael of Hashem Elakacha. There's a Nigan on the word Kechui Machem Devarim. The Shuva El Hashem. Take with yourselves words and return to the Eibishter. So I think a Nigan from came from the Shar Yashuv world. Regesh place was, but it's a Kishmak Nigan. I don't know if you know it, but I think you got it. Okay, Yehu imachem devarim. Oh my good. Vishovo al Hashem. Yehu imachem. Vishovo al Hashem. Introductory thing to that. Ba 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 There was once a Yid who came to one of the great Tzadikim, Chassidus Rabbeim. His name was Reb Hershel of Rimenov. Everybody heard of Mendel of Rimenov, was one of the great Chassidus Rabbeim. And after he passed away, the Rebbe that became Rebbe after him was not his son, was not a son-in-law, was his attendant, the Shamas, the Mesharis. He was called the Reb Hersh Mesharis. And obviously they realized that he was an extraordinary Tzadik. Became a Rebbe, and a huge Rebbe in Poland was Reb Hershel of Rimenov. So one day a Yid comes to Reb Hershel of Rimenov and he tells him a chassid, and he says he wants him to daven that his father-in-law should die. A pretty interesting request. So Reb Hershel was taken back. You're asking me to daven that so a Yid should die? He said, yeah. He said, my father-in-law, Baruch Hashem, is kicking strong. He's over 100 years old. But, he's old already. But he's not going. He can't really take care of himself. And he's having a hard life by this time. Not much going on. Doesn't learn. Doesn't daven. Not much happening in his life. And he's becoming a very big burden. And everybody is like, she lived already. He lived a long life. But it seems like he's not going anywhere. He's just hanging around. So push it for his own good and for everybody else's. We're asking you to please help him out over here and, daven that he should pass away. So the Hershel has said to him, I want to meet this old man. Can you please bring him to me? Bring this Yid to me. So the person said, it's impossible. He's an Alta Yid. We can't schlep him. Reb Hershel insisted. You got to figure out a way. You got to bring this Yid to me. So, okay. The Rebbe is insisting. They got a couple of Chassidim to go. They went whichever town it was. They took a wagon, they put his bed on the wagon, they schlepped him, they brought him to the Rebbe, they wheeled him in on a bed, and they brought him to Reb Hershel. And Reb Hershel looks at this Yid, and he says to him, Reb Hershel is wondering, what did he do that he's to such a Richus Yamim, he's living in? Those days it was even far rare that someone lived so long. And he starts talking to him to try to shmek out, if you say, to feel out, like, what is it that he did, something schus, whatever. Can't find anything. He realizes this person is a very simple Yid, or like a shtickle, what we call a boorish type of a person. Simple guy, doesn't really, and he was a coachman, he was a wagon driver. That was his profession. So the Hershel started asking him about his life. Yeah. What was his spiritual life? He used to go to shul and daven whenever he was able to, shachris. But that was not really his, shachris wasn't too much to him. His main thing was to finish shachris. He said. And I was always, and he used to describe breakfast, and he described to the Tzadik, for the Hershel, how much he enjoys breakfast after davening. Then he described Shabbos, and Shabbos, he said, he goes to shul on Shabbos, and then he started talking about that he was very much part of the Kiddush club. The cholent was the big highlight for him. All right, the Hershel says to him, any special mitzvahs you did? Did you ever do something extraordinary? Garnish, can't recall. Did you ever go to a big tzaddik? Tzaddik. And he says no, but then he remembers and he says, yeah. I remember there were once a couple of young men who nudged me that we should go for Shabbos. They wanted I should come with them for Shabbos to the town. Pretty well, I think it was called Lezensky. So, and I didn't want to go. And they really were bothered. I said, leave me alone. I enjoy Shabbos. I enjoy my chulin, he says. And I enjoy my sleep time. And I enjoy, but they promised him a hefty sum. And they also promised him that the kugel and the cholent and the kishke and all the inyanim that he had, all these things he's going to have in Lezensk. Not only that, but he's going to have as a berachava gedel. So he finally was masking to go. He went Friday night after davening. They were true. They brought him they put him up in a nice hotel, relative to what you imagine the beautiful 5-star hotels that were in Lezensk those days. But it was pretty for his hasadis. It was nice. Friday night after davening, they brought him a nice challah, a good fish, and a good meal, and he was very satisfied. Shabbos morning, he came to the shul and he davened, and afterwards was like a gavaldige kiddush, and he had a cholent that he really satisfied him. And then he went and Friday night they came to him after his meal. And they asked him if he wants to come join them. He forgot the name, what they said. It was some kind of a gathering. They were saying they want to go, if he wants to come to the Tish. But he didn't remember what they said. He said it was some kind of gathering, but I said, leave me alone, I'm tired. And because they were nice people, they left me alone. They left me sleep and fine. Shabbos day, he had a nice chont and he took a nice nap and he slept. And then he woke up and it was getting dark already. And he was planning to leave, but there were no sign of any of the guys. So he decided to go search for them. So he looked for them, and he said, I came to the shul. I went to the shul. In the shul, I walk outside. I hear such singing and dancing and singing and dancing. And there was such rowdiness going on over there. To me, it sounded like that these guys were all drunk. Al-Shikurim. And that such noise, such a ruckus. So I went inside, and I'm watching. And in the middle of the whole room, they're all standing around, they're clapping, and there's empty bottles on the table, and they're clapping and clapping. And in the middle of the room, what looked to me was the chief shikar of them all. He was a tall fellow. His face was radiant with red. I never saw his face was red. And he was in the middle, and he was dancing, and everybody was like fanatic around him. And that's how he describes. So Reb Hershel says, okay, you don't have to say anymore. I get it already. He said, this person saw Rebbe Lamelech himself, the person that was red in face and radiating was the great Tzadik Rebbe Lamelech of Lezensk. His face was red. But now I understand why he lived so long. Because it is known, but Chassidim all knew, that anybody that merited to see the face of the Rebbe, of the face of Rebbe Lamelech of Lezensk, would not pass away without tshuva. Since this guy didn't do tshuva yet, so he's living again. So Reb Hershel said, so we can take care of it right now. So Reb Hershel sits, this man is laying in the bed, and Reb Hershel starts talking to him very gently. And he starts talking to him about the Eibishter, how Hashem created the world, and he explains the magnificence of creation, how beautiful it is, the whole creation, and everything that Hashem made, and everything is purposeful, and the harmony of creation. And then Rabbi Shlomo starts talking about what, in the creation itself, Hashem created the human, and then Hashem chose Yidden, and he started to explain to him what a neshama is, and how powerful neshamas are, and how all Yidden are really one neshama, but we're all in different bodies, and we're all part of one big avodah that we all do together to purify the world. And then he started speaking about the addition that we got, Torah and mitzvahs. And this Yid is listening, and he's listening, and Rabbi Shlomo is speaking very gently and explaining to him how Torah and mitzvahs, how precious they are, and Ashreinu Matov Chelkeinu. And then Rabbi Shlomo said, in addition to the Torah and the mitzvahs which Jews have, Hashem also gave us Heilige Tag Shabbos. And Hashem gave us Shabbos, and in Shabbos, what's supposed to happen is a chance for a Yid to connect to Hashem. And therefore, by the Suda Shabbos, what happens is Hashem himself comes to visit every single Jewish home, and Hashem wants to spend Shabbos with you. So when you speak Divrei Torah by the table, and you sing the Gunim and that, then the Eibishter gets so much nachas. This year, when Rabbi Shlomo finally gets to this point when he's describing Shabbos, the Yid suddenly turns his face towards the window, and he's looking outside like in a dream-like state, and suddenly he gives a big krechts. He gives a sigh. And Rabbi Shlomo gives tells everybody, Kahanim aros. All the Kahanim should leave. Rabbi Shlomo himself was a Kohen. And Rabbi Shlomo himself left together with the Kahanim, and as soon as he left the room, this Yid gave a second krechts, a deep sigh, and then his neshama left. Tshuva, in essence, is just an awareness, an awakening, a krechts. You don't have to die while you're doing it. It's just a krechts. It's a certain recognition. It's an awareness of who you are. What does it mean to be a Yid? What is the Eibishter? What's Torah mitzvahs? What is Shabbos? What are all these opportunities the Eibishter has given us, and so on and so forth. And when we suddenly realize where we were and what we were and when, and maybe missed some of it or didn't value it as much, we give a krechts. That's the ganze truth. That doesn't take a ganze commotion. That doesn't take Slichos with Rosh Hashanah. You could say, that you should really hear it. You really hear it. It should break through the klipa. It should break through the outer shells. But I think the real avodah of tshuva, the real what is really a significant avodah that we're trying to accomplish during all these days is more than that. It's not the cleansing. The cleansing that happens. The Yid gave one krechts, a real the Rebbe Marashas, the Rebbe brings it on Gimel Tammuz and Maayon. A Yiddish krechts from anything, even when it's a gashmiistic problem. When a Jew krechts, it's truly Allah. It's the highest truth. But here there's another nakuda. The nakuda over here is that we spoke before about cleaning a diamond, cleaning the neshama, cleaning a diamond. So there's a mashal that is given that there was once a king who had this magnificent diamond, and it was beautiful, mamish beautiful diamond, and it was the most expensive gem. This was like the from all the possessions of this mighty, wealthy Shamal al Shulchanen. It's as Misrad. Do you know where there's a yarmulke? There's a Yirvin. So there was a on the diamond. There was a this was the most precious diamond that there was. One time, the diamond fell. The king was showing off this precious gem. This was like a fancy, crazy expensive gem. This would be sold on Sotheby's at millions of dollars. He's passing it around, and it was in a nice little cushion. Somehow, someone dropped it. Now, diamonds usually don't scratch easily, but I don't know how, what, where, and when, but that's the story. It got a scratch, and the king was very bothered by it, and he called all of the diamond people to work with the scratch. And basically, the greatest gems, Mevinim, they all said there's nothing to do. In order to remove this pagam, this scratch on the diamond, you have to shave the diamond off. To shave off. But by shaving off part of the diamond, you have to cut it. And by cutting off that part, obviously it's going to devalue the diamond with a. And the king was upset, but that's what they told him. But suddenly there was one fellow who comes up and he looks at the diamond and looks at the scratch, and he says, no. He says, give it to me. I can purify, I can take care of this problem without without causing the diamond's value to go down. And he spoke with such confidence that the king trusted him, and he gave him the diamond. He brought it back a week later, and lo and behold, the king takes a look. So beautiful. The diamond looks like it was, but there's something magnificent. On the diamond is carved out this most beautiful rose. And as he's looking, what happened to the scratch? And the scratch was the stem of the rose. So it's one thing to wipe away. It's another thing to take all the scratches and all the bruises and all the cuts and all the misdeeds that we've done and to reframe it in a way that produces the most magnificent you, the most magnificent, beautiful yid you can be. That takes a really be more avodah. The correct, to clean, to purify, to chop off to cut it doesn't take long. To cut off the klipa. But the reframing already is an avodah. In order to be able to set yourself up in a way that all the negative experiences that you have, that we've done, all the mistakes that we've made, from now on become, as Adonis Nasas Kazachi is, they become part of a new you. And that too becomes part of the rose that we're producing. Kesheshana ben Achoychim. That's already an avodah. It's a deep avodah. And we begin this avodah in Slichos, and every day we learn Chassidus, we meditate, we say the words, we allow the words to seep in. Slowly but surely there's some kind of it can be just a small little shift, but that shift changes the entire perspective of ourselves. And
of course.
Oy ki Yehovah amecha v'yato loike no banecha v'yato eyano avodecha v'yato I did it. The shift of consciousness, the shift of awareness has to do primarily with remembering who we are as Yidden. Kiyanu Amecha, Kiyanu Banecha. We are your children. Ata Avinu, you're our father. And how deep that relationship goes. You know, Shabbos Slichos, most of the years, is Pashas Kisoi. Pashas Kisoi, we read the mitzvah of Bikkurim, which is the first fruits that you bring to the Beis Hamikdash. The Rebbe, in the last time he spoke to us in Pashas Kisoi, Tavshin Nun Aleph, an incredible Farbrengen. And over there, the Rebbe asked the question, why is Bikkurim the last mitzvah in the Torah? Really is the last mitzvah in the Torah. I mean, you have afterwards Chassidus Sefer Torah, but in general, Moshe Rabbeinu's chazara of all the mitzvahs, Moshe repeats or goes through the mitzvahs, the last mitzvah is Bikkurim. Because after Bikkurim, what happens? The Eibusher starts making a krisas bris with the Yidden, a covenant of all the mitzvahs. That's what it starts talking about. Starts talking about the writing, Hayom Hazeh, on this day. We read it in today's Chumash. Hashem took you, Hashem Hamircha Hayom, Hashem made you into a special people, Hashem Hamarta Hayom, you made Hashem special to you. And then he talks about taking the stones and inscribing the Torah on the stones, and then they take the Yidden to Har Gerizim and Har Evel, and they start the brachas and the opposite of the brachas, but the whole idea of making a covenant, and then it leads you right into the brachas and the end of the parsha if you keep the mitzvahs, and then it leads you into Atam Nitzavim, Hazinu. The rest is all just a generalization and solidifying the commitment of Yidden to Torah and mitzvahs. But the last mitzvah is the mitzvah of Bikkurim. So what's the connection? Why the last mitzvah is the mitzvah of Bikkurim? And immediately after the mitzvah of Bikkurim comes the words Hayom Hazeh Hashem Elokecha Mitzavcha, that the Eibusher commands you, which we learn out from there, that the Torah and mitzvahs have to be chadashim, that the mitzvahs need to be new. Is mashma from here, and according to the Alter Rebbe, the Kuti Torah, the word the last word from Bikkurim and the first word Hayom Hazeh Hashem whatever spells out over there a Yud Kei Vav Kei. Eretz Zavas Cholav V'Dvash. And then from the Eretz Zavas Cholav V'Dvash, you have a Yud Kei Vav Kei spelled out. Rosh Tevis. Right now, I don't recall what, but in other words, the mitzvah Bikkurim is actually part of a Yud Kei Vav Kei leading into the mitzvah, talking about the idea of Torah mitzvahs needs to be new, fresh, chadashim mamash. What's the idea behind it? So phenomenally, he explained as follows. By the Eibusher putting mitzvahs Bikkurim at the end, the Eibusher is redefining Torah mitzvahs. In the last mitzvah, the Eibusher is opening up a depth to Yiddishkeit, the Torah mitzvahs. Hashem is allowing us to peek the very essence of where Torah mitzvahs are really emanating from.
And that's, in other words, there's two levels of Torah. There is the Torah of Pashas Yisroi, and there is the Torah of Pashas Kisavai. And the Torah of Pashas Yisroi is considered external in comparison to the essential revelation that we get, which redefines the entire Torah and mitzvahs, Dafken Pashas Kisavai. And this redefinition of Torah and mitzvahs, the Rebbe doesn't connect it to Slichos, I think is just an incredible, complete mind shift that opens up a proper approach to Slichos, to the Shoshana, to Yom Kippur. And what is that? And the Nekudah is as follows. Bikkurim represents Neshamas of Yidden. Torah is called Truma. We know there's various different presents that you have to give from your farm. And there's different levels. And then there's Truma as Torah, because Truma stands for, the Zohar says, Torah Mem, Torah that was given to 40 days. Truma is very, very holy. Torah is very holy, very godly. And Truma is called Reishis. And Torah is also called Reishis. Bereishis, bara lekimis u'shmayim v'sa'aretz. What does Rashi say? For the sake of Reishis. What Reishis? The Torah that's called Reishis. So Truma is Reishis. But then, what is Bikkurim? Bikkurim are Yidden. Neshamas Yisrael. And we know what Eliyahu Hanavi says in Torah of Eliyahu. Eliyahu Hanavi has a shaila. What's his question? He says, this is what Eliyahu Hanavi says. I know that there are two things that are Kadma Li'olam, two things that are before the world. Torah and Yisrael. But I don't know which one is first. And Eliyahu Hanavi says over there that I've done a survey. I've done a polling. I went around polling in all the yeshivas, and all the shtiblach, and all over. And I asked the rabbis. And what I'm getting from them is that they are saying that Torah comes first. That Yidden are very precious, but Torah comes first. And then Eliyahu Hanavi says, Va'ani oimer, but I say, Yisrael kadmu. Even though everybody says so, but I say, Torah kadmu. Yisrael kadmu. So what does that mean? And that's Bikkurim. Because Bikkurim is even before Teruma. I've seen your father like the first ripe fruits. Yidden are the Bikkurim. What does that mean? That Gans Torah and Mitzvahs is B'shvil Yisrael. And that's the last mitzvah of Bikkurim, because it's saying that all of Torah and Mitzvahs is really B'shvil Yisrael. In other words, there's two ways of looking. One way of looking at it is that the Eibishter has a deep whatever connection, a vision, an attachment, a desire, or let's say a pleasure in mitzvahs. For whatever reason, it's a mystery. We don't understand exactly what the sensation and the pleasure is, but yet we find in Mishlei that Shlomo HaMelech says that the Torah is the Eibishter, what the Eibishter plays with. It's his entertainment. The Torah is Hashem's pleasure. And mitzvahs are Hashem's delight, and the Eibishter's tainig. And the Eibishter needs someone to implement it. Hashem needs it to be actualized. So for that, he brought about Nishmas Yisrael, and Neshamas are here to facilitate the Torah. Or another way of looking at it, that Eibishter has Yidden. Hashem has a Ben Yochid. Hashem has a one and only child that he loves to pieces. And in order to set a framework and a setting for the relationship to manifest, so he emanates from himself an entire system which is meaningful to him and very meaningful to him. From within this system, he will actualize his relationship with the neshamas. So in other words, the Torah and the mitzvahs are here to serve the neshamas, not the neshamas are here for Torah and mitzvahs. So which one is first? But the Rebbe says, Dafka, when we appreciate and when we come to an understanding that Torah and mitzvahs, that Yisrael is Kadma. From Parshas Yisrael, you wouldn't know. From Parshas Yisrael, you see the Eibishter is giving the Torah. And he gathers the Yidden to Har Sinai, and he gives them Torah and mitzvahs. And then you would think that the Inyan is Torah and mitzvahs, not the Inyan is Yisrael. But when you come to Parshas Kisava and you find Bikkurim as the final mitzvah, which means that the ultimate goal of it all is his bond with Yidden, so that changes the dynamic. And Dafka then, you can have Torah and mitzvahs in a way of Chadosh and Mamish. Every second is Chadosh. Why? So the idea that occurred to me while I was learning this is something like this. So you can have two people doing the exact same thing, and the definition of it is completely different depending on what the What's the nekudas apnimis of it? So there's a guy who loves the outdoors. Okay, you have this fellow, he loves nature, loves the outdoors. It's his passion, it's his pleasure. I'm giving you an example of a person loving the outdoors. It can be someone loving the outdoors. It can be someone loving going to history museums of historical things and seeing old things. Or you can see a Michigan sports fan who's crazy about sports and his life is sports. Or it can be a person, whatever Indian you like. But let's just I picked one of them. An Indian, a passion, an excitement that someone has. He doesn't like doing it himself. He doesn't have. Oh, here it is. He doesn't like it very much. Is unappealing for him to hike alone. It's also a little dangerous hiking alone. Doesn't want to hike alone. He doesn't like to go to the game alone. He wants to be able to go with someone else to sit. So he finds a buddy, a friend, or whatever, someone to come along. He becomes his hiking buddy. Becomes his sports thing. So he comes along with him, his companion. So over there comes out a very big difference in terms of what they're doing and how they're doing it. There's a big chiluk. There's a big difference. In the beginning, when they go shopping, they're going on a hiking, on a trip. They're going out for a what is it called? They're going out backpacking. So it's a couple of days, so they have to go buy provisions. So they go to the store and they shop provisions and they're shopping food and they're doing that. So the amount of excitement for this fellow while they're shopping for food, it's exciting, but it's not like they're not yet in the car, they're not yet driving. Then they get into the car and they're driving together. So there's already more of an excitement because what? Because they're already on the road. And there's a difference if when they're on the city highways or when they finally get to that exit that starts taking you into the mountainous region. It's a whole different timing. Because you're getting much closer to the pleasure. When they finally get into the parking lot, they park there and they start loading up their backpacks and they're getting ready. It's already a deeper sensation. And then when they hit the trail, it's all. And then in the trail itself, when you start going around the bends and you start getting over the areas where you're coming over the tree line and the vistas start opening up and the magnificent sights, and you see already the waterfalls over there and you see the alpine lakes and the Tainug reaches. Right? And the same obviously is someone sitting in a stadium and watching a game. You can understand that there's a chiluk in all these experiences when he's with his companion. But how about if a father didn't see his child for 15, 20 years and his child comes home and the father is beside himself with simcha, with joy that he's going to have his child that he hasn't seen. Maybe they were disconnected also emotionally and psychologically. Maybe there was whatever. But now the child is finally coming home. Father thought he lost this child. Now the child comes home and the father, all the love that he had bottled up comes out and he wants to just spend time with his child. Because he wants to spend time with his child, not with the distractions of everyday life. So he tells his child, let's go on a backpacking trip. So now they're going together backpacking. So now what does he do with his child? He does with his child the thing that he likes doing. He's taking him on a backpacking trip. He's not, because the other guy who likes his museums of old natural history, of old things, is going to do that with him. The one who likes sports is going to take his child to the sports game. But the nekuda over here is not at all, not the hiking, and not this and not that. What's the nekuda? From the very moment he goes, he sits down and they make the first trip. They go to the grocery store and they're shopping and they're buying the food. For the father, it's every little detail of it, every aspect of the trip is the same pleasure. Because the pleasure is not the hiking, even though he's doing something that's meaningful to him, very pleasurable to him. But the definition of what he's doing is not what he's doing. The definition of what he's doing is spending time bonding with his child. That very element is the definition of everything. Let's say the guy sits down and he's at the game. He's sitting at the game. Because he's not a very wealthy guy, so he has seats somewhere up there. And suddenly he sees a buddy of his who sees him. The guy knows him from shul. And the guy comes running and sends him a text. He says, I see you back there back there. I have an extra seat next to me. It's a box seat right over here. So obviously this is a World Series game or a real, it's a very special game. And he says, yeah, but I have my son with me. So now let's go back. He says, yeah, but I only have one seat. So if he's there with a companion, so that depends on what kind of mensch he is. If his heart is burning, he wants to go in. So he might say to the guy, you know what, I'm going to be back in 45 minutes, but at least I want to be a little bit over there. But if he's with his child, right now, the game is chitzonius. It's not that he doesn't care about the game. He loves the game. He's passionate about it. And while he's sitting with his child, he's enjoying the game. But the nekuda of his moment over here is that he's bonding with his child. It doesn't even occur to him that he should dismiss his child because he can have a better experience, a better seat by the game. It doesn't even occur. And that's the story that Rebbe says, the way I understand it, is the Eibishter's, the Bikkurim contribution that happens in Parshas Kisavos. The Eibishter cares deeply about Torah and mitzvahs, but what he cares most is not the Torah and mitzvahs. What he cares most is the bonding time that he has with you while you're doing Torah and mitzvahs, not just while you're doing it, your entire life. And that's why the Rebbe says every second, every little entity of your life is nogeya to the Eibishter be'etzem atzmius of essence of God. Hashem is entirely invested in every aspect of a Yid's life. So much so that Rebbe says that when a Yid realizes that your place is Bikkurim and you stand there listening Hashem Alekecha, even in the mundane moments of your life, you realize, oy gewalt. Yes. Imagine doing tshuva from this perspective, realizing that the Eibishter's entire everything is in me, and his desire to be with me and to bond with me, and that I should connect with him. So where's the tshuva coming from? You realize that the Torah and mitzvahs, in essence, the Eibishter, the fact that I misbehaved or violated or did Torah and mitzvahs. Obviously, the Torah and mitzvahs is very deeply meaningful to the Eibishter, but the Eibishter is not merachik me be'etzem because of my misperformance of Torah and mitzvahs. But the story is fakert. If I am so deeply rooted in the Eibishter, if I'm so one with God, if I'm so deeply connected with Him, and I'm so much Him, how could I have been so neglectful in something that's so meaningful to Him? Fakert. It's not because Chas v'Shalom the Eibishter would put anything before you. He doesn't put anything before you. You are to him more than anything else, more than all of Torah and more of all the mitzvahs, like we find in the story of Moshe Rabbeinu, that Moshe Rabbeinu broke the luchos to save the Yidden. Because it's not negeya. When it comes to the one and only child, everything is chitzonius. Just that thought of letting that idea sink in a little bit. We take 10 minutes, 3 minutes of how we, with all of our faults, with all of our weaknesses, with all of our deficiencies, are the most precious entity in all of existence. So then the awakening is, so when I'm coming to next year, spending time alone with my father in the car, and at the same time, I'm taking out my phone or I'm busy with all other distracting inyanim, and I can sit with the Eibishter himself and he wants to take part with me and he's talking to me and I'm busy involved in other things. So then you realize like that's so ridiculous. It's so foolish. It's so empty. So that's where the truth is coming from. It's the recognition of mi ani. What does it mean to be a Yid? What does it mean to be the Eibishter's Bikkurim? What does it mean? Kiyanu banecha. And to know that the bond has never been severed. And if we feel severed and we feel disconnected, it's only from our side. It's not from the Eibishter's side. Because to the Eibishter, he can never, ever, ever sever himself from us. Because all of Torah and mitzvahs was just on the one hand, it's rooted in atzmos, as we say. But it itself is, if you can say a pnimius and a chitzonius in atzmos, I don't know how to say that. It's an emanation of how Hashem creates or formulates some kind of a system within himself to facilitate his relationship with us. But the nekuda pnimis and atzmis of it all is us. And from that place, a Yid can't give up on himself. And from that place, a Yid realizes that every minute is equally, infinitely precious. Doesn't make a difference if I'm doing the biggest things, I'm doing the smallest things. It's in my very being that the taino is
from the Eibishter. L'chaim lebracha.
Time.
L'chaim lebracha. Kiyanu amecha v'yato vinu in the deepest way. L'chaim. Hold on 1 second. Yeah. Oh.
Who's singing?
It's supposed to be your conceal. Even though he's doing it over there, he's supposed to be coming over here.
He's committed to you.
Yes.
I thought by now he would be over.
Chaim. So no one really knows when Mashiach comes, or when the Geula happens. The complete Geula Amitis Vashlema. It's not something that was revealed. Yaakov Avinu wanted to reveal it. It wasn't revealed. The Rebbe told us that we are already at the Zman of Aschalus Yemaisa Mashiach. Already in Tafshin Nun Aleph. Nun Aleph. Shana Shamelech Mashiach Nigla Boy. Unbelievable things that were said to us. Now, obviously, we're sitting over here, and it's 30 years later, and Mekratzach noch in Golos, we're still, for some reason, it's completely incomprehensible. We're still in exile. We haven't yet achieved that we have third base on Mikdash. And that is very painful and disturbing. So we don't know the moment of the redemption. We don't know. But one thing is for sure. I think we can say with clarity that right now, as we're entering this Rosh Hashanah is it's not just a new year. We're starting a new Shemitah. We're starting a whole new section of time, a whole new existence this year. The Chazal tell us that the most opportune time for the Geula to come is b'Matzah Shemitah. The Matzah Shemitah ben David Abba. That's the Zman. I don't know exactly. Matzah Shemitah means the last second. Why not be the second? It means the beginning of the 8th year, the end of the 7th year. Whatever it is, let it be. It should be now. But the Nakud over here is when we begin. So the thing that is without a doubt is that the time that we're in right now is such as man mesugel for Mashiach to come, for the Geula to happen. And I can say with confidence that with a little bit, we shouldn't need our effort. The Rebbe said we did everything. But with a little bit sima slave, a little bit putting of our heart and our neshama and our soul into the prayer, the bakasha, the cry. Everybody has their own inyanim that they need. But when we put these inyanim kind of as secondary, and the first and main focus for each and every one of us is Eibishter, take us home. This is the time that a push is more powerful than, because this, when we consider what happened in the last 3 years, when we consider the shaking of the world, when we take into consideration, now we're not mamish in it, we watch COVID and the whole world shake up, and then the continuation of the inyanim that have been going on. Sadly, tragedies that happened to the Jewish people in the last 2-3 years, where we're talking about Maayon, and we're talking about Surfside, we're talking about inyanim that are so outside of normalcy, things that are so meshuggah. Chazal also tell us the inyanim that lead up to the year that David bust. Chazal say, "B'shviyis mulchamas." We had it this year. There's a war happening with a nuclear power. Okay, Baruch Hashem, it hasn't turned into a global war. Hashem should protect and watch. But the inyanim avir, everything that it says will happen in the Shemitah that Mashiach is going to come. So there's no question that now is an eis ratzon shebe eis ratzon shebe eis ratzon. And there's no question that the admasai, the cry from us, needs to be so strong on such a deep level. It's for sure, without a question, that that the Shechina, who's Rachel, is crying for her children. All the tzaddikim, everybody are weeping. They're storming up, saying, now, don't drag us through another chas v'sholem, another moment. Definitely not another Shemitah. But this is where we stand with this Slichos.
standing by the Slichos. It's such an Eis Ratzon for the Geula. Our heart should be so focused, so driven. The Rebbe says that what does a Yid say when if a Yid is the Bikkurim? So suddenly your class, Lifnei Hashem Alekecha, V'anisav Amarta, you raise your voice and you say something. What do you say to the Eibishter at that moment? You cry out Ad Mosai. How long? Eibishter, stop already. Enough. That's our ability for each and every one of us to make that cry. Today by Slichos, right now, before Slichos. From Pniyas HaNeshama. We've done all the inyanim, lechatchila, meaning we've fulfilled not just the Yevid, all the inyanim that Golus, all the tears and suffering and all pain, we did it beyond and beyond. Mahadrin mina mahadrin. The time has come already for Kibbutz Goliath. The time has come already for Yidden to return to Eretz Yisrael, to the Beis Hamikdash Shlishi. Mamish now. Shavu banim v'shavu banim v'shavu 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 Oy koy v'rava v'rava yishma Rachel v'akol v'akol al paneho Oy koy v'rava nishma Oy Rachel v'akol Rachel v'akol v'akol Just for one moment, Chaim, Slichos is called for a 1:45, because that's when Chassidus is. We're having a little bit of a delayed departure. Our Chazan that's supposed to do Slichos is on a few-minute delay. Should be here by 1:00. It's a Chazan Tegitz, but he's going to be here, I was told. So we'll wait a few more minutes. We'll sing a little more, and we'll be on the Chaim. I said that. You do it every year.
Let's do what it's Slichos.
Yeah.
You do it how many times you want.
Rafi,
Brother has to make a bracha achrona. Please don't forget to make a bracha achrona. There's a bunch of copies of Slichos. I'll bring it out.
Well. You don't need it anymore. Let's bring it around here again.
Over there on the Slichos are on the bima if anybody wants.
It's the last.
Help you. Speaking up the wrong one.
The Nunu? Yeah. He's in this side of the world. I'm here for second.
That's early. Why would you not be recommended?
But I have a store.
What?
I have a store.
When?
Last
Wow. Oh, brick and mortar store. That is a wood guy. We've been using the same wood for the past hour. You're a fraud.
I'm a fraud. He's the rest.
Well,
It's a very
you're so soon.
that probably 6 hours. 5 hours.
Oh,
Daniel. Arthur on the third inning.
I know. That's part. That's part of it. It's the 5
That's
hours.
it. They're wrong. Some guys are not down.
It's like a guy learning Gemara. Best part is before it.
Fair enough. I can't argue with you.
You're staying at your parents?
Back. Back.
2 years. I'm starting UCLA.
Really.
Some might say, yeah, but I'm excited.
Start.
No, we haven't. Week 1 is next week. Week 0. My first class is 7. The worst. Literally the worst. But whatever. Yeah. You start. Sorry, go back to the doctor. You're good. You're made out there. You didn't make noise. When I do
taxes.
anything,
Perhaps the simplest way is to like,
even
want to student visa.
still.
I have one for New York way up. Give me student.
Every year he gives you one. Wow.
Students in Orlando.
What's that? What's this?
Whatever I got.
אנחנו נברך יום מעטוב יד אלום, הללויה, יסקדש, ויסקדש, שמי רבו, ויעלמו דברו, חירוסי, וימליך מלכוסי, ויעצמם פרקוני, ויקרא משיתה, חיי פוינו ויויני פוי, ובחיי לכל בית ישראל, בגולו ובזמן קורים ויאמרו אמן. יזברך וישתבח ויספק וישרמום ויסנשא ויסדר ויסעלה ויסהלל שמי דקודש בריחו אשר אלוהי היום ועושו ויבש ידו ויוצרו אשר בידוי נפש כל חוי ברוח כל בשרי שלום אדוני יעשה למען שמך אסון על שמך אדוני עשה למען שמך בעבור וישימך ילחנון ורחום שמך למען שמך אדוני וסלחת לעבודנו
Came to
Atas Chachamim Moro Deila Lishmaya Elarina Viela Tefila B'tzedek nekad v'nishkat v'molayim Ginan nagiz v'zakam v'ayd lahyin Lishmaya elarina v'yela tefila Hidarish lamoy mishmei midoyanako Holy Shabbos Chinun Amata Lemaznecha Lishimaya El Arina V'Ela Tefila Chalim kimavkira v'yavras masaecho Tinu pa'mecheina v'yaydu filecha Lishmaya elarina v'yela tefila It's the year and now it's gone. Kainan Tameos Terra Meitzo L'chani name Thina Meyoitzor Hamenutzor Leishmaya Elarina V'Ela Tefila Matzemu Kishei Ki Halam Nasag B'Meyoitzor Amuchon B'Zvulecho Adech alachai chinam B'ay melecha Lishemaya El harina V'el hatefila Tzadik sayakecho mafli filois Shavna chinuna Elohim Adonai Tzivois Lishmaya El Harina V'el HaTefilah Adas nefamim yoy shefila lishema ya Elorina ve'elatefila el Daitalana Mikadan Kimai Shikasno Vayed Adina Bayanan Vayisyati Vimasham Vayitra Bishem Madayana Adonai Tzevai Yisrael. Fatanu Tzureinu Slachlanu Yitzreinu the fire one of his others can share a martin the Shema Koyeleinu Adonai Eloheinu Chol שרחם עלינו וקבל ברחמים וברצון תפילתנו. השיבנו אדוני ילך ונשובו חדש ימינו כקדם. אל תשליכנו מלפניך ברוח קודשך אל תיקח ממנו. אל תשליכנו לעץ זקנה ככלית כוחנו אל תעזבנו. ועדיין אישה מתעושנו אבל אנחנו בביצנו חתנו בינינו למען חלק שמך נפלך יעלמך עזרא ספרו אין רחום שמך אין חנון שמך בנו נקרא שמך עדיין יעשה למען שמך עשה למען עמי איתך עשה למען בריתך עשה למען גדולך וספרתך עשה למען דעתך עשה למען איתך עשה למען ביחדך עשה למען זכרך עשה למען חסדך I say the man to I say the man I am Anna the Marchai Beyasle Mishushana Vida Huyanelo I am the Ezra Bagal I am
Machani Yitzerachami Machani Yitzerachami Ei Balarachami Ashmi Yitzerachami Ashmi Yitzerachami Shoy meyati tefila, mashmi yitziyako, ashmi yitzako seidu, b'fimei shoy meyati tefila. Ay, 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 Israelina, Tachni, Oisel, Melech Yisrael, Ya, 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 His name and the Tzadik. Sratze berachavi u'mispayes Shafnu b'mudi Sratze b'mispayes